Okay, dreamer please.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So there's gonna be an Pet Selector coming up in a few days, and this video will cover what you need to know before making that decision. But before we talk about the pets, I just want to go over one last time about what has happened, and I apologize for any disappointment that issue and that incident has caused. And if you do still have any feelings of unjust, you can drop me a PM or take it up to Netmarble, and I'm trying to move on from that, so hopefully you will be able to as well. Okay, so we have 20 pets to cover, so let's jump right in. So for L pets, their skills, their cheers can be largely categorized into these various categories. You have the ones that cleanse, remove all debuffs, and also reduce skill cooldown at the same time when you activate their cheer. You also have the ones that provide immunity, you have the ones that revive you, and you also have the ones that increase a particular stat on activating the pet cheer. On top of that, they do have two passive stat buffs. So I'm gonna tier the pets according to PvE and PvP because I don't think it's fair for certain pets to be ranked too highly in one category and ignored in the other category. Okay, so the first pet we're gonna talk about is the Karin pet. The Karin pet is the most common L pet in PvP because of her ability to revive. And when you have a pet that does revival, it easily frees up an accessory slot because you do not have to equip your heroes with the revive accessory. Similar for PvE as well, which means you could potentially maximize certain damages. Okay, in terms of accessory wise, you can potentially give 3 time acceleration accessories, okay, with 1 immortal orb, okay, 1 rage orb. That's one possibility, and there are so many possibilities with a revival pet. Okay, that is why the Karin pet is easily one of the best pets. On top of that, she also decreases skill cooldown and increases defense, making her a very much preferred pet for PvP tank comps, okay, as well as in PvE. Having the decreased skill cooldown is very valuable for you to be able to chain in more skills within a shorter period of time. So if you do not have a Karin pet and you do not have any other L+ pets that can help you in this particular aspect, I think having the Karin pet in your inventory would be a beneficial choice. The next best pet to pick would be the Yeonhee pet. The Yeonhee pet cleanses and also decreases skill cooldown. Not only that, she has the damage dealt increase and ignore defense efficiency increase. The ignore defense efficiency increase is actually a very rare skill, which prior to that new pet being released, Yeonhee is the only pet that has the ignore defense efficiency increase. Okay, making her a very valuable pet in both PvP and PvE, whereby she can actually increase your damage output by quite a considerable amount. So in PvP, she's used in burst comps, as we've seen for a very long time coming. Even now when people are using Mythical Ace, she will also help to increase the ignore defense efficiency of Mythical Ace and other burst heroes like Rin as well, who can always crit. So her ignore defense efficiency is very important to allow your burst teams to do more damage. Also, increasing damage dealt overall for all your heroes is much more valuable than a stat like crit rate, because crit rate ultimately is still a chance-based factor, and some heroes, you are not gearing them fully on crit-based gears or accessories. So in that case, they may not even crit, even with a crit pet. So that is why crit pets are less preferred in PvP. In PvE, she has been used in Maze, she has been used in Guild Raid, and I think she's a great pet to have in order for you to do more damage. I've tried to compare her with crit based pets like increasing crit damage, okay, and crit rate, which we'll talk about later as well, but I felt that ignore defense efficiency and damage dealt increase together could provide a more visible outcome in terms of scoring. The next pet, which is very recent, is the Kris pet, and as you can see, he also has an ignore defense efficiency and crit damage increase, which actually is pretty valuable in PvE, but in PvP not so much, because the crit damage is also going to be a chance-based thing. You have to crit in order for that particular passive to be useful, right? And not only that, he provides immunity. So in PvP, immunity is not so good these days because it's only 4 seconds and it can be removed. Okay, so definitely not preferred in PvP. In PvE, it is still okay, but not as great as the decreased skill cooldown passives and the cleanse ones. So unfortunately, despite his pretty good passives, okay, unfortunately due to the immunity part of it, he won't be SS tier. Then the next pet that we have is very popular in PvP, which is the Eileene attack speed pet. She's definitely used pretty commonly in PvP, so definitely SS tier because attack speed pets, they are also not that common. There's only a handful of them, okay, and this Eileene in particular does provide cleanse and skill cooldown, so that's going to be very valuable in PvP. But in PvE, unfortunately, due to her other part of the passive being a combo chance increase, that is not so good. Okay, even though attack speed is great even in PvE, it is less of a factor over there. Okay, if you want to maximize your damage output, you are probably better off using a crit damage, crit rate pet, in fact. Okay, and unfortunately, because she has a second effect that increases combo chance, which really isn't amazing or mind-blowing as a stat, so she's unfortunately not very good in PvE and is less preferred. On the other hand, we have Rachel, who decreases skill cooldown and increases damage dealt. Now, Rachel is an amazing pet in PvE. She is actually used in Guild Raid and most commonly in the Thunder Dragon Raid. Okay, her decreased skill cooldown is particularly useful for heroes like Noho because Noho depends on using her skills to quickly get her ultimate to hit really hard. So you have to try to find a way to allow Noho to continuously use her skills in order to keep up her damage. So the Rachel pet is actually amazing there. Okay, but of course in PvP, this is not as great. Okay, due to not only because she has an immunity passive, but her overall passive doesn't serve to bring much in the PvP field. Then we have Nestra Shane pet. Nestra Shane is definitely going to be an amazing pet in PvE because she increases single target damage, which is also very rare. I think she's the only pet that can do that. She also increases crit rate, which means in PvE, you can actually afford to reduce the reliance on crit gears and allow your damage dealers to experiment with other varieties of damage dealing gears, and this will help to maximize your damage output. Not only that, upon activating her active skill, you will also get an attack speed increase in PvE, which is pretty useful in terms of allowing your heroes to do more damage in a shorter period of time. In PvP, however, I know that most people used to use her when Ace was used to make use of the increase in attack speed because she can provide the highest attack speed stat buff with her active. Okay, but unfortunately, I don't think that's gonna carry you too far nowadays. Okay, and her passive is actually not gonna be that amazing. Okay, so you're only relying on her for that initial speed boost, but beyond that, it is not gonna help much towards the later part of the battle, especially when there were a lot of tank units happening and they still exist. This is not gonna do much for you. Then we have the Spike pet, which is also the crit rate and crit damage pet I'm talking about, that is really useful in PvE because if you are a newer player and you do not have enough crit gear, okay, or you don't have a Kris on your team to buff the crit rate of your overall heroes, I think Spike pet would be pretty good. But in the long run, he's actually not one of the few pets that people constantly will go to. Okay, they probably turn to Yeonhee or Nestra Shane or even Lizardra pets if needed. Okay, because in PvE there are still other pets that are not in the selector that can be bought. So in various content, you know, people will tend to go to these pets specifically rather than the Spike pet. But I still think he's pretty good, okay, in terms of the way his actives and passives are organized because he can cleanse and increase skill cooldown. I know some people actually use him to clear maze, and I think that's one reason he is able to qualify for the SS tier. Now in PvP, I think he was used long time ago, but now I don't think his skills will do as much because you kind of want to rely either on speed or rely on Yeonhee's ignore defense efficiency to maximize the potential damage, because as I mentioned, crit rate is still chance based. Your heroes may not crit and crit damage will not happen. Okay, so ultimately, if you want to go for actual damage increase, go for damage dealt pets and ignore defense efficiency increase pets. And speaking of which, Miss Velvet's pet also provides the same buffs, but she is an immunity pet, which makes her less preferred. In PvE, what you want to do is to reset your skills quickly and efficiently so that you can either do more damage or heal more. Okay, an immunity pet probably won't help you as the battle drags. Then we have the NewYear Yeonhee pet, and she is specifically for field exploration, so she is great there for sure, SS tier. okay, because of the attack speed and movement speed increase, allowing you to farm faster and increasing the boss chance if you farm online. But in PvP, definitely a no-go. The Juju pet is currently one of the better pets as well being used because of all the heroes that use AoE skills in PvP, and she also gives an attack speed increase, making her an amazing pet to be used. But since she is an immunity pet, I feel that I can't really rank her that high, but she definitely is one of the better S tier heroes, almost at the borderline of SS tier, okay? In PvE, however, she is less used, okay, because there are not many opportunities where you will make use of AoE damage. Then we have the Claire pet. So the Claire pet on paper looks really good for, debuff teams like Kris, like Rin, attack speed increase, status accuracy rate increase, but she provides an immunity, which makes her a little less preferred compared to the Espada pet. The Espada pet decreases skill cooldown, increases status effect accuracy rate as well. However, she also is able to decrease skill cooldown further with her active skill. So this makes her much better than the Claire pet, especially if you are using status effect teams, status effect heroes. Okay, this will allow them to follow up with status effects more efficiently and keep the enemy controlled. Okay, but for both of them, they are bad in PvE because you don't rely on status effects in PvE at all. One of the more popular pets will be the Lene pet. She is still S tier in my opinion because of the attack speed, and having an attack speed pet, it's just that important in PvP. But again, because of her immunity based passive, she is less preferred than the attack speed Eileene. In PvE, having the attack boost and attack speed boost is also one of the better two options to allow you to have more damage dealt. Okay, but again, because of immunity, she is one tier lower. We have the second revive pet, and that's Aquila. However, the problem with Aquila is that she is kind of in a mixed situation where she increases defense and also increases ignore defense efficiency. Okay, that makes her the third pet that does have ignore defense efficiency, but because she is kind of like a defensive pet as well, I cannot rank her on the same level as Yeonhee simply because of that defense increase, which makes her a little weird to use. She is neither here nor there. Like, as you can see, if you compare her with the Karin pet, the Karin pet straight up increases defense, also decreases skill cooldown, which makes it universally good for any hero. But for the Aquila pet, if you are using her on a burst team, it doesn't seem right because of the defense increase. If you are using her on a tank team, it also doesn't seem right because of the ignore defense efficiency increase, because for tank teams, we know we don't really rely on ignore defense efficiency. In fact, we don't even need it, for tank teams, except for that one unit, which is probably the damage dealer. So yeah, she is kind of in a mixed situation whereby you may not want to consider using her if you have a certain goal or have a certain team in mind. And in PvE, of course, this is even clearer because you need a pet that can increase your damage output, and she is definitely not it, even if you are trying to run tanky comps. Same situation for the Adel pet. His situation is even more interesting because he has a block rate increase on his active, and he also increases defense and attack on his passive. On first glance, he looks like a tank team pet because he does increase block rate and defense, but the attack is really questionable. Like, why is there an attack increase? Because tank teams really don't need that. I mean, in PvE, I can see that he is probably a little better, not that completely useless compared to the Espada and Claire pet, so that's why I put him A tier. But of course, if you really don't have any pet to rely on, then I guess he's okay, but there are so many better pets compared to him in PvE as well. So I think he's one of the worst pets, to be honest. Next up is the Dellons pet, which has been a pretty common pet since the launch of the game. Okay, he was used a lot when people started the game, and I think he has slightly fallen off for sure. Okay, his overall passive and cheers are really useful. As I mentioned, cleanse is good, damage dealt is good, attack is good. So he's kind of the inferior Yeonhee if you ask me. Then we have the crit rate Eileene, again pretty good in PvE because of the crit rate increase and attack, and also has a cleanse and decreased skill cooldown. Okay, if you are a player that doesn't want to rely on too many crit gears, I think this pet can be used. Again, not as superior as the ignore defense efficiency that Yeonhee brings. Okay, in PvP, definitely not so preferable, even though she has a cleanse, but her crit rate it's really situational. Attack increase is okay, but yeah, the crit rate is kind of situational. Maybe she's a borderline A to B tier kind of pet for PvP. Then we have Mercure's pet. Okay, the Mercure pet is very questionable because of the crit rate increase and combo chance. Again, the combo chance is a really bad option. So him having the combo chance kind of just immediately drops him down to the lower ranks of the entire pet roster already. So in PvP, it's not going to be that great, okay, because both his passives rely on chance. And in PvE, I mean, both can help to increase your damage output, but again, chance based, and yeah, why would you use him over someone else? So that's why he's ranked pretty low. And then we have the final two pets, which are the defensive oriented pets. Okay, these two provide immunity, increase defense, and I think Rudy decreases damage taken while Evan pet increases the block rate. I think they have very niche users. Okay, so of course in PvP they should be used on tank teams. But if you have a Karin pet and you can free up one accessory slot and revive your entire team, I think that is a much more valuable pet than using these two. Okay, so there's no point in using these two if you have a Karin pet. And in PvE, I don't think you need to be going for defense, because defense can be built in many ways, based on your codex buff, based on your gears, okay? And there's really no real need to rely on a defensive pet to boost your team. And it's always better in PvE to rely on offensive pets so that you can deal more damage within a shorter period of time, and it can end your suffering much sooner. Yeah, so these two pets definitely don't have a very high ranking right now in the game. And yep, that will be the tier list I have for all the L pets, PvP and PvE wise. And if you still don't know how to make your decision, okay, this is one thing I can tell you. If you do not have enough pets currently for certain activities, because like Guild Raid, Tag Team in future, and Guild War right now, you do need 3 pets. Okay, so if you do not have enough pets for these activities, do not have enough good pets for these activities, choose a new pet. Not only will your CP increase, you also get codex buffs from that as well. So it's a pretty good reward freebie for you. Now, if you already feel that the pets you have are sufficient enough for you to proceed in all the content, okay, you already have the 3 best pets, maybe like a Yeonhee, Karin, and any 3 in the SS tier, then I think you can actually go for a dupe pet, because it means that you are ready to progress to the next stage, and that is to try to get your L+ pet. Okay, so these are 2 of the possible routes you can take. And yeah, hopefully this video helped, and if it did, do give it a like and subscribe to my channel. Big shout out to my channel members Chilling, Jude, Gonzalo, Nate, McGee, Nyamaki, Kevin, Hala, and JDM for the support. Stay tuned for more videos. Thank you so much, and see you!